And that's the end. So this is the part where we'll talk about what we thought. I mean, I had a fucking blast. I loved this game. This was so much more fun than I was expecting to have. I've always liked Far Cry, but I do think it sort of had a steady decline after 3, but it's still so much fun. They stripped away some of the fat. They don't have the Ubisoft towers. They didn't have a lot of the having to hunt animals to craft new gear and things like that. They got rid of the overly long healing animations in favor of the just the one bandage thing, but I feel like that was a bit of a missed opportunity, which they brought back in 6 because that's a fan favorite, so that's good. But my god, Ubisoft Jank just turns an experience from okay to phenomenal. This game is so much fun because it's broken half the time, and never to the point where you can't complete the game or in a way that becomes frustrating. It's always hilarious. Like things randomly exploding, getting crushed by vehicles, just bodies flying, things getting stuck in the ground, floating shovels. Everything about this game is hilariously broken, and I love it.
It takes that it's a realistic game in a lot of sense, and then it throws in that curve of, okay, well, realistically, a bear doesn't just spawn in the middle of the road and then we go careening halfway across the county because we had a border collision glitch.
Yep. The interesting thing about Far Cry is it's got this weird in between for realism and arcadey.
Yeah.
And they definitely they lean into a bit more of the arcadey stuff. So there's like especially like in the older games, you would have to go through an animation of like taking the pelt off of an animal and everything. They just stripped that away with this one. You just press E, and then like looting bodies doesn't have an animation. You just press E on it and you just do it. So that's nice because then you don't have to go through an animation every time.
Single player, there is still slightly an animation for those.
Okay.
And that's what I like the most about multiplayer is they took that out, so you're not waiting for everyone. And it doesn't seem like a lot, but I think multiplayer runs 20% smoother just for the operation of the game because it's just quicker to do things. And single player, you will reach down and pat the person when you loot a body.
The animations can be disabled for solo. I guess that's like an option in the menus or something.
Huh.
Interesting.
That would have been nice to know.
The main character sucks. I mean, as a character, they obviously they don't do anything egregiously bad. They're just not a character. They don't speak, and so and the main characters in the previous games didn't speak much. But Jason Brody from Far Cry 3 was like a frat boy turned local superhero because he used like the magical tattoos on his body, and the more upgrades you got, the more magical tattoos you got. So there was that whole like kind of supernatural element to it, which was really cool. But I don't know what the deputies' motivations are. They just kind of exist, and you don't ever see your face except for in menus. So I don't know why there's character customization at all.
Could it be argued that there's a little more connectivity with the player that way because they're not playing as someone, but more so the only input from the character is actually what they're thinking while they're playing it?
I think it comes down to player preference. I've always preferred games with a strong character, and I have games that I really enjoy where the main character is basically a nothing character. Like I love like the Legend of Zelda games and that kind of thing where the like Link doesn't have a personality. He's just Link. He goes, yeah. And so those can be fun. I just don't think Rook does anything memorable to make it fun as like a memorable character. It's just like, oh yeah, you're the main character. That's it. They're not cool enough to be a silent protagonist and to be memorable like that. And it's not like they have a cool design because it's like I know people love the rookie from ODST. I don't think he's cool, but he's an ODST, so he's got that kind of cool design that people find memorable.
Yeah.
This is just like, yeah, we're a cop. I dressed up as Faith the entire time, which was funny. So we were just joking around that like Faith was dismantling Faith and the rest of her is so fucking funny.
We didn't really have a problem with that until Faith's region, where she would spawn in occasionally.
Yeah. Oh my god, the boss fight against Faith. You kept fucking hitting me instead of Faith because there were so many around the area. You didn't know which one was me.
There were 13, and one was a little bit taller, and I was beating that one with a shovel because it stuck out more.
There are many things I would have to say about, like, I have many criticisms about Far Cry and how I think it sort of ended up watering down the open world genre, cuz after Far Cry 3 every game wanted to be Far Cry. So every game was doing this open world base attacking, survival, crafting, skill stuff. But it's still fun if you do it right. And I think Ubisoft does it right enough, and the things that they do wrong are never egregiously wrong to lessen the experience. Because there are things that I don't like in this game, and there are so many. But I don't feel like I want to go into it like what I do with a game that I don't like, because I enjoyed this so much that I can look past it. Like, the player driven unlocks, I don't like that stuff, but it didn't really affect our gameplay all that much.
Yeah, the enemies were, and you could do the map in whatever order you want, but the order we did it was one that they suggest in the beginning, and the difficulty of the enemies kind of matched your progression. And I did notice right away when we were really ripping through the campaign, we were getting into Jacob's territory and getting our asses handed to us for a bit because our weapons sucked. But eventually we were able to upgrade, and then we didn't have any problems anymore. Unless we would have just got the laser gun the whole time.
Yeah, the laser. Oh my god, they added DLC guns into the main game that you can just have. And so the laser guns are so ridiculously OP. You just instantly kill anything you touch with them. And so I had to put them away at some point because I was like, all right, this is just going to completely ruin the balance of the game. I got to do something else. So that was ridiculous.
That's probably what wrecked us is because of those we were going so fast that we didn't evolve any of our trees anywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and then right at the end there, we decided to, just for old time's sake, grab him and just destroy Joseph Seed.
It's like
I still think the enemies, and I thought that's about Pagan Min in 4, is they're trying to recapture the glory days of Michael Mando as Voss. And you just can't beat Michael Mando. He's so good as Voss in 3. He's so good that people forget Voss isn't the main bad guy in 3. There's another guy who is so forgettable that nobody remembers him. Because Voss stole the fucking show. And, like, Pagan Min and Joseph Seed are not bad necessarily. They're not great. They still do the whole psychotic thing and they're fun to watch, but their plot lines are not all that interesting, and especially Joseph Seed's plot line is not interesting at all. And his 3 underlings are forgettable. I didn't even remember the first guy's name, John Seed. I don't even remember what his gimmick was at this point. And then Jacob.
I think he just said yes.
Jacob, his gimmick of like training you to go into the bunker and shoot some people was super obvious from the get-go that that was what was going on, and they do it like 3 times before you actually go to the finale, and it's like, all right, I get it, this is very clearly what's happening and not just a hallucination. Like, come on, nobody's fooled by this. And then Faith, her most interesting part was her like puppeteering the marshal to kill the dude and then orchestrate the infiltration of the camp. I feel like if they leaned more into that of her being like a puppeteer, she would have been a much more interesting character, but she just sort of comes off as just a whiny regular girl. And then Joseph C does nothing. Like what made Voss so fun was that he kept constantly capturing you and trying to kill you, and then you'd get out at the last minute, and he had that whole definition of insanity thing, which everybody can quote like from their memory because it was so good. Joseph C does nothing. Like, he shows up a couple of times in cutscenes after you kill one of his underlings, and then at the end, but And then as far as Far Cry 6 is concerned, apparently the ending for Far Cry 5 is may or may not exist at all. It's like, all right, whatever.
It's definitely canon for New Dawn, which, man, you thought the characters in 5 were rough.
Oh my god, all of the friendly NPCs in this game are so forgettable. I don't remember a single one.
In New Dawn, the main protagonists or antagonists are horrible. I hated them and I will admit, Far Cry 5 was the first Far Cry I ever played. I stumbled across it once. I didn't play a lot of video games growing up until I was finally in college, and I was like, this is amazing because it was my first exposure. I have not played through 3 to know what everyone else has to reference on. So, from my point, as someone who's a very casual gamer who games once or twice a month when they have time, I loved 5, especially because it was based in America and it was so relevant. And then I've gone back and played 4, and I thought, okay, that was an okay game. and I didn't like New Dawn very much at all. But it was kind of neat to see the environment had changed and go recognize stuff. But at the same time, there was so much stuff and character, like you said, characters that I came across the New Dawn, and I'm like, who the hell are you and where am I? I don't remember this at all.
Yeah. But like, look, let's be honest. If you're buying a Ubisoft game, unless you've never played a Ubisoft game before, you know what you're getting into is the story is going to be meh at best. I don't think there's a single Ubisoft game I can remember where I thought, wow, that was so good. I'm glad I played that. But the gameplay is a mix of basically everything that's popular at the moment. So there's some good and some bad, but they sort of cancel each other out into just a average experience. But then because there's so much stuff thrown in because it's Ubisoft, it's never very polished. And so that jank just makes everything more fun. And I love Ubisoft games. Like it's so weird to say because I have so many strong opinions about other games, but I love how crappy and basic Ubisoft games are because they end up being so much fun. I love Ghost Recon Wildlands. I love Rainbow Six Siege. God, what are some other Ubisoft games that I've played? I can't even remember. I like them a lot. The Assassin's Creed games I never really got into, but those they've been fun when I play them at friends' houses. Like man, and Ubisoft is one of the only companies I can think of that their games regularly go on sale. So I picked up Far Cry 5, Far Cry 5 New Dawn, and Far Cry 3 for $20 total. Like that's a crazy deal. And it was Far Cry 5 with all the DLC. So that was like that was nuts. I think it was like $8 for just the base game, and so many of the Ubisoft games go on sale like 1 month after they're out. So I'm going to be picking up Far Cry 6 as soon as that's on sale because that looks like fun.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm not buying that one that comes out. I'll wait till it's cold outside until I have time, and by then it should be a third of the price.
Yeah, and I think I bought Far Cry 4 for $5. I had to buy it separately, but yeah.
I bought 5 initially because New Dawn was coming out and 5 was down to like $10. I was like, $10? How bad could this be? Well, here we are 2 years later. Still one of my favorite games because it was so fun to play.
Yeah, and then Ghost Recon Wildlands, I picked that up for like $15 back in the day. I have over 100 hours in it. Rainbow Six Siege, I bought that for $5 back in the day because it was on sale and I wanted to play it. I played the hell out of that. Ghost Recon Breakpoint, I bought that when it was on sale after they had put out the mode to not have the whole looter shooter thing, and that was actually a ton of fun. And they have a whole thing now where it's like if you have friends who are playing with you, they can download the free demo and they can play through the entire game with you for free, which is great.
That's awesome. That needs to be more popular.
Because it's essentially just one person buys like $10 and then 3 people get to play for free. Like that's a ton of usability.
Yeah, you go to your friend's house, they have the disc and they have 4 controllers.
Yeah.
It's kind of bringing that back. I think that should be more popularized. That just makes sense.
And the co-op stuff in 5 is pretty basic in terms of how co-op stuff is. I think most of the time us interacting with each other was riding in vehicles and reviving each other, but it doesn't really need to be much more than that because it's a fun open world. The having to stay close together was a little bit weird, but I think that might be a limitation of the engine that they had to force us together.
Yeah, and we would have if we were able to go tackle different parts of the map at once, we would have screwed that game up so bad it wouldn't have known what to do when. We would have broke it.
Yeah, which you can do in Wildlands and Breakpoint, and it does get a little screwy.
It's like, well, we're gonna go do this. Oh, it's already done. Time to spawn an airplane.
And I talk about this in the following real thoughts. The whole side mission things to get to main story mission checkpoint stuff is not great. It could be good because I think if you had interesting enough side missions that had the polish and fun of a main story mission, that would be good. But a lot of the side missions in this game end up being the same repeated things. Like some of them literally copy pasted. And these were the main story mission side missions, not even the side missions, which I'm sure were even worse because Ubisoft games are terrible about cookie cutter copy paste stuff. And so those weren't great, and a lot of the times it was kind of ridiculous because it's like, oh look, this person's got your friend. We're just gonna wander around for like 2 weeks while your friend's being tortured. Like it's fine.
Yeah.
When we get captured, we spend like multiple weeks captured, and then we just kind of shrug off our torture.
Right back to it.
it's kind of weird. It's so the story is not good, but again, you're not playing a Ubisoft game for a story. You're playing it for the gameplay, and the gameplay is a lot of fun, especially two-player co-op. I think every open world game should have co-op of some kind. Ideally four-player, but two players fine. I think Far Cry would be a little ridiculous with four players, but that's exactly why they should do it.
Could you imagine having you and your buddy in a helicopter with two guys grapple hook off the bottom?
I wish that there was third person driving as an option just for accessibility's sake, because I get motion sick.
Yeah, and it is forced, which I think that's just a Far Cry thing, right? They're all forced first person.
Yeah, it's a Far Cry thing. There's also a little too many things in the game that force your FOV back down to the default for some cinematic reasons. Like climbing up a ladder forces your FOV back down and then puts it back up, and grabbing somebody off the ground does it. Going into cutscenes is fine because then that's how they keep it so that you can have an FOV out in the main world. But like, I think they could get away with not changing it so often.
I enjoyed how we could not per se exact cutscenes, but when you would interact with a main character to get a mission, it was still live in the environment, and I could just do whatever I wanted in the background.
Oh my god, that was so funny. You like me just sitting there watching an NPC stand around and talk is so mind-numbingly boring. But watching you running around in the background, like hitting things and launching mortars and blowing stuff up and setting things on fire just made it so entertaining. The really annoying thing was if you're talking to an NPC and you accidentally right click, you'll pull out your hands or your gun and they get mad, and then you have to wait for them to not get mad to talk to them again, and then they'll like start repeating lines. It's like, all right, stop, just let me finish. There was one doctor character that just took like minutes to calm down before we could talk to him again. It was so annoying.
And then some asshole hit him with a mortar.
At least with this, the host can do all the main story stuff. None of the side people can initiate any, like none of the one partner character, you can't initiate any of the quests. Only the main guy can. But at least it's not the way Dying Light does it, where all four people have to be around the NPC before you can start talking to them.
Oh god.
And waiting for your friends while they're fucking around doing other stuff. Oh my god, it took forever to get anything done in Dying Light because of that.
That would be hell.
It was awful.
Yeah, and one thing it was nice that the obviously the host is whose mission progression we're following, but the co-host I have a perk tree and everything else is the same. But there were a couple differences. Like there were items I couldn't pick up, items I couldn't destroy, and most importantly, I could not have more than the base number of weapons. I couldn't get a secondary or I couldn't get tritarian. I couldn't get 4 weapons.
Really?
Yeah, no, I was stuck with 3 weapon slot for the whole game.
Yeah, you had to get that from the upgrade tree.
No, I wasn't able to because I wasn't the host.
That's weird. Well, that is a problem, yeah.
That was the first thing I tried to unlock, and it said you couldn't do it. So I actually Googled it, and it said no, only the host can have more than X amount of weapons.
That's stupid.
And I think that's probably so. If I had a guess, if you and I were playing together on your story progression, and I stepped out, someone else could come in and take that slot with the same power. So that I could be wrong, but I don't think it had to be me playing with you the whole time.
Oh yeah, no, it didn't have to be you playing with me the whole time. And I think most of the time if somebody joins in, it brings their progression with their perks.
Yeah. But yeah, why the hell could I couldn't? I don't know why I couldn't have more than I had a pistol and 2 weapons. That was it. That 4th slot was a no-go.
The Ghost Recon Wildlands open world stuff is interesting because you can straight up not participate in story mission or in just missions in general with your friends, because it's like, oh, this person has started a mission. Do you want to join it? And you can just go no, and then you can go over and do your own mission while the other person's doing a mission, because the whole world is instanced around your own thing. And so that was kind of an interesting mechanic, and I think that wouldn't really work with just 2-player co-op, but the 4-player co-op was more interesting about that, because it's like, oh, your one friend has to catch up by doing these story missions, but you want to keep doing these side missions to level up, so you can both do that at the same time, and your one friend can help one and one friend can help the other, and you can be across the entire map because there's no tether to the players. So I think that was a little more interesting with the 4-player co-op. I kind of want to play Wildlands for Cass.
That'd be fun.
Just to play it again, because I enjoy it. It's not great. It doesn't have great story. It doesn't have a lot of cutscenes either. But I think it would be fun. Just fun to play.
But it's a Ubisoft game.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. This honestly makes me kind of want to go through all the Assassin's Creeds. I know there's a fuck ton now, but That might be fun to do.
We definitely need to maybe play Far Cry 3 as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'll be going through 4 and then 3 and then 6, like completely out of order. And I'll probably do New Dawn and Blood Dragon, and then nobody will remember the Primal, so I won't be doing that at all.
I remember when that came out, and that was the last time I heard about it.
Yeah, I think that's everybody's experience with that game.
Yeah, no, this was a ton of fun. I remember starting out, and you throughout the stint of it, you had a bunch of shitty games you played for Cast Series.
Yeah.
You could just tell how excited Will was because after that first day we played, I remember going, "This was way more fun than you had anticipated."
Yeah, I really did. Like, I thought I was gonna have some fun because I enjoyed Far Cry 3 and I enjoyed Far Cry 4. I had never played Far Cry 5. I had way more fun. We were laughing our asses off the entire time playing.
And we barely knew each other when we started. This is like how we met, kind of.
Oh yeah, yeah. We had basically just met. Yeah,
First thing we'd done together. But yeah, no, that was. I'm sad it's over. I mean, it only took us like 2.5 months because I was so busy. But
yeah. I mean, yeah. If we do Wildlands or Breakpoint, like, you should totally join us for that.
just give me like a year. Winter should be better because you can't go outside because you'll die. So
I'd say Far Cry 4, but I promised Austin that I'd play Far Cry 4 with him because he loves the Far Cry games.
yeah, I just played that one and I wasn't a big fan of 4. So you guys go right ahead.
There is still DLC. I'm not really interested in the Far Cry DLC. From what I've seen, it's kind of crappy.
For Far Cry 5,
Yeah,
I don't even know what it is.
there's like movie inspired things. There's like a Vietnam one, an alien one, and a zombie one.
Weird.
And they're like linear experiences and not really well balanced and just kind of generally crappy. Does New Dawn have co-op? I'm assuming New Dawn has co-op.
Yeah, I imagine it does.
Yeah, we could probably do New Dawn.
Oh, you know one thing I really didn't like about New Dawn, and maybe you could turn it off. I don't know. I never looked. I played all these on console too, on a really old Xbox, so that should probably be a part of this. But when you hit NPCs or you hit players, the damage points pop up. It's like in Borderlands.
Weird.
Yeah, I'm like, this doesn't belong in a Far Cry game that's literally a direct copy paste with map changes from 5. Same characters, same map, but now you got Borderlands little magical numbers popping up for the amount of damage each bullet does when you hit them.
It is weird.
It's all cartoony. I'm like, I didn't like the color scheme of that game at all either. It's just too vibrant.
Yeah, I think there's a balance. Like, I don't like the whole washed out realism thing that a lot of mid 2000s games did, but there are some games that go a little too far into the futuristic super punk pink and green and blue. It's like, my eyes. Not the green obviously, but the pink and blue. I do like a little bit of a vibrant color scheme, and I think Far Cry 5 has a good balance of it. Like, it's pretty colorful.
Yeah, Far Cry 5 was a nice, like you said, a good balance.
And the Far Cry games in general have always been very colorful, except for 2. 2 is mostly brown.
That's going way before my time.
I'm sure people will want me to play 1 and maybe not 1, but definitely 2. And I don't know if I'll play 2 or not, because 2 is the point where the realistic, quote unquote, gameplay elements way outweigh the fun. And you have things like, oh, weapons can randomly break on you if they're in poor condition, or you can misfire, or
Oh, yep.
you have malaria. It's like literally getting malaria is part of the story, and you have like malaria headaches or something.
Jesus.
It's like the what is it, the things in Dying Light where I was the seizures. It's like, I don't care. I think I think everyone will agree that everybody's favorite part of a Ubisoft game is never the intended experience. It's always something they did together and a weird bug.
Ton of fun to play because of how glitchy it was. It added that extra kick that's missing from a well polished game. And I actually, before I started, I was telling Will at one point, I was like, every single time I fired up my Xbox to play this game, there was a new problem. There was only one. Like, sometimes the menu wouldn't work, or it wasn't usually something annoying, but there was like one day all the planes would randomly spawn in upside down and then immediately explode.
We were having an issue at the beginning of this play session where the cars were like fragile as hell. They would just break.
Yeah, we broke 3 cars in like 90 seconds.
And it wasn't even doing anything weird. It was just like regular driving.
I shot it with one bullet and it was done, and then you hit a tree and it was done.
Yep.
That was, but no, those are kind of like a little twist to everything that just makes it new and fun. And you never know when you can punch a moose over a mountain.
Oh my god, that was so much fun. Doing drugs and running around like Sonic the Hedgehog and one punching everything was so fucking good. I wish we did it earlier. It was so funny.
We didn't discover it. Yeah, we we were ignoring loot and everything, and eventually you build up enough loot after 10 hours of gameplay.
Yeah.
And we discover, hey, let's try some of these. Oh, you needed a perk point to unlock something to fix our helicopter because everything was so fragile.
Uh-huh.
And you're like, oh, do 6 drugs and get a perk point.
Yep. And I just hyped up on drugs, just ran around punching moose, and they just went flying. I ended up half a mile away from you just running. It was so good.
I wish I had footage because I pulled out the sniper to see it, and I'm like looking at a hill, and then I just see a moose body fly over.
Oh, I have some footage from me in a helicopter when you're running around punching people. It's really funny.
Oh yeah.
I want to see in the comments section. I want to see in the comments section people's own stories of a Ubisoft jank moment, of just your favorite thing that happened in a Ubisoft game that very clearly wasn't supposed to happen. Because everybody has one, and it's always different. Because Ubisoft bugs are always different. There's things like, oh, in Assassin's Creed 4, your ship will just bury itself into the ocean, and there's just a big hole, like a noticeable hole where the water just stretches down into infinity, and then it will blast itself up in the air, or like all of your guys will fall down from the sky. There was this where we liberated a base, and all of a sudden I was above up in the air in my truck, and I just fell down. Or Ghost Recon Wildlands, anything related to helicopters. Helicopters are super buggy in that game, especially if you get up really high and you go out to parachute. 90% of the time, the helicopter will just fall down and kill you almost instantly. Just those kinds of things. They're so funny. And I want to hear your stories because I love reading about that. Because I don't think anyone out there really thinks Ubisoft games are like cream of the crop best stuff. Ubisoft even knows it. Like, they're middle tier games, but people buy them when they don't have anything else to play and it's on sale because it's like, oh, $10 for an Assassin's Creed? That seems pretty reasonable. I'll get 20, 30 good hours out of this game.
Be good to go. Yeah, I mean, it in their game design, and there's hints to it all over that they know that they're just fucking around. Like, for anytime you throw a rock in the game, in Far Cry 5, for example, you throw a rock to distract an enemy, but the same key command in a car, you throw an empty beer can.
Yeah.
It's just like, or they'll put in weapons that are just unrealistic and dumb, and they're there to have fun.
Yep.
And stuff like that. It is it was a great time.
It was so much fun. I think this Real Thoughts may surprise some people because of my thoughts on other games. Because I hold other games to a higher standard, and some people might think that's not fair. But I don't hold Ubisoft games to a high standard, so when they're fun, they surprise me.
We didn't come here to be competitive or have a real experience. We came here to fuck around, and guess what we did?
We found out. We fucked around and found out, and it was fucking fun.
It was a blast.
Which is the 4th or 5th time we've said that now. But like, yeah, if you could buy a Ubisoft game for cheap if it's on sale, because they go on sale all the fucking time. Oh, and I didn't even think about The Division. I enjoyed The Division too. I really enjoyed that. Even though that was a looter shooter, and I don't like looter shooters that much, it was just fun enough, and the AI was just interesting enough up until the end game, because the robot dogs suck, and if you've played The Division 2, you'll know what I'm talking about. So those were interesting. They need to make another Splinter Cell. I want to see how derpy it is nowadays.
Yeah, is this just going to be Ubisoft's thing forever, you think? Or will that ever change? Or are they?
Just like generic open world action games? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, this guy nailed it. They're junk food games. It might not be healthy to play, but they're fun as hell.
Yeah, definitely. That's a good analogy. Yeah, especially because it's really cheap too. That fits the junk food analogy.
That is great.
Get them because you know what you're getting out of it.
Yeah, you can't be disappointed when this is exactly what you should be expecting going into it. Or as someone who's, like I said, a very, very casual gamer, I had no idea. Barely even knew what Ubisoft was when I started playing Far Cry 5. And I started playing it in January, played it pretty heavily, and then as it started getting warmer, I played it less and less. And I went for probably 90% completion, 95% completion with all the side quests and everything. And I finished that fucker in July. I got 7 months out of that game, and I enjoyed it.
Yeah, if you do 100% these games, I mean, a lot of the side content is really dry. It's really copy paste garbage stuff, but you can get a lot of time out of these games.
I really enjoyed the environments in the Far Cry games are amazing. They're wooded environments. The flora looks so real.
I thought the whole reason the Far Cry series was called Far Cry was because it was on the Cry engine. Turns out that was a fucking lie. Only the first game's on the Cry engine. Everything else is on Dunya engine. Since the second game. My whole life is a lie.
Well, they already had the name established. Might as well stick with it, I guess.
I know.
Uh,
What's weird is the further you get along in the Far Cry series, some details are better and some details are worse. Like I believe fire spreading is actually a lot better in 2 than it is in 5 because it gets progressively worse, but it still spreads well enough in 5 that it's not that big of a deal most of the time, especially if you're just playing regularly. Because we were having moments where we were setting like half of a base on fire. Like it still spreads pretty well.
Boomer was on fire all the time.
Oh my god, Boomer just catches on fire so much.
That dog is on fire 24/7. No, that was. I'm gonna say it again. That was a ton of fun. If it wasn't 2 a.m., I'd say let's get back on. But we just finished the campaign.
We've been playing for 5 hours this session, which is our longest session. I believe it took us, I want to say 12 or 13 hours to complete the game, which is doing pretty much just a straight shot. We did some fucking around, but in terms of we didn't go breakneck speed like my normal pace, but we definitely fucked around a lot, especially with fucking around liberating bases. We die so much just doing stupid shit.
We did like one tactically and knocked it out in like 30 seconds, and then the next one we just went everything explosive, throw it at it, and it was done in like 15 seconds. Everything else, 10 minutes.
I don't think we ever did stealth ever. And that's like half the game too, is like the stealth stuff that they add. And that was what popularized putting optional stealth in so many open world games. I've never been a fan of stealth. I remember going through Far Cry 3 back in the day, doing a lot of the stealth stuff and thinking, man, this gets kind of boring, like sitting up on a hill with a sniper rifle. With this, it just gets ridiculous, just how much stuff explodes.
And you have the firepower to get so deep into the shit. And with 2 people, you can pretty much almost always blow yourself back out of it into the clear. If you got enough drugs and explosives, you should be okay. Oh, what a blast. Well, Will, I want to thank you very much for letting me play this with you.
Definitely. Yeah, we definitely got to play some other stuff together. Not even cast. We should just play some stuff together sometime.
Sign me up when it's a good done deal, dude. Done deal. Once winter comes.
And it was so much fun talking to you that one night. You just called me on my phone and we just talked for like 3 hours about whatever.
Yeah, I think I was drunk as hell by the campfire.
Yeah, with your 2 friends with the same name.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I had John on the phone, and the other John was with me at the campfire. Oh, hell. That was a good time. I'm going to drive home. I got a 25-minute drive home yet, so.
Drive home still. I'm right next to bed.
Yeah, you're going to roll over.
Special thanks to my patrons whose continued support makes these videos possible. If you want to support the channel as well, patrons get a special avatar that goes at the end of the videos they help support, as well as early access to videos and full-res artwork from thumbnails.